Hey guys, Josh with 6 Up Tabletop. Welcome to another hobby musing hobby chat, and we'll be talking about Starcraft tabletop miniatures game, talking about some of the Zerg models. And so the point of this is kind of talk about some of the modeling decisions, as well as some of the strategies that I painted, and just overall my experience with the starter part of the starter set. And so I am actually collecting the Terran part, and so there's another part where I kind of talk over the Terran models that I painted. But these are the 3 models that I painted up for my buddy Tim, who's doing the Zerg half. And so without further ado, let's talk about the models and get into it. Alright, kicking us off with the Zerg Queen. And this kind of talks about some modeling that I went into. My primary goal here is I haven't done a lot with these clear plastics. And Archon Studios doing the clear plastic, I was interested to see how they work, so I really wanted to keep like the egg sacs on the queen, so that kind of went into the modeling decision. So in order to do that, we had to basically use some sticky putty, and I basically filled in each one of the sacs very meticulously with the putty in order to keep the sacs there and be able to use them. You can see the bottom, like I didn't fill in all of them. There's black primer that covers them. You can see a little bit of purple there from when I primed, where some of the paint splashed over that. But overall, I think it looks really good, and happy to use the clear plastics that came with the kit. Alright, I did not build this model, but the strategy that I had for painting it is I wanted to go with like a classic brown and purple look, and then highlight the bone. So yeah, the purples, did that with an airbrush here, and I feel like I was able to transition nicely on the purples with this part right here. And I don't know if it's the hair or not, but I thought that looked nice. I put a lot of detail into, I don't know if it shows up on camera, but a lot of small brushwork, basically highlighting the carapace on the front, as well as adding some like color texture and eye, paint the eye of the queen. So that would kind of be like the visual point that you would look at here, is that middle section, as well as the highlight of the bone, and less details on the side, and then your eye would be drawn to the eggs on the back. I did add a little, see if it shows up in the light here, you can see it's a little glossy. I added a little bit of varnish over the eggs, and I guess where the eggs would come out, to kind of have that nasty look to them. And for the base, not much there. There's like the cut out plastic pieces, so I added they were added to the base, a couple of those. Added a little bit of the varnish on there to make them look a little gooey, and then some basic foliage, and just like brown texture paint with a couple of twigs and stuff from my yard. So that is the queen. Extremely happy with how she turned out. I think my friend will be awesome, but unfortunately I will be killed by the queen. Probably very often I get to look at my painting. Let's get on to the Nidus worm. Alright, looking at the Nidus Omega worm. This was, for me, the queen felt really nice to paint. This was a little bit more challenging. Part of that was just technical difficulties with my airbrush. Usually I find bigger monsters easier to paint, but in this case there was some challenge. Starting off with the outside, I just did basically airbrushed it over some white, and that was kind of the same brown I used on the queen, and that was just like a contrast wash, thinned down a lot. I used similar purples on the inside, but I added a little bit more pink, and I used like a red wash, I think even some orange on the middle, to add some layers. And then I also continue the trend of adding some of that varnish on the end that makes it look sticky, so in the little jaws area. Everything pretty much was done by airbrush here. You can't really get a great look there. The teeth were all hand painted. I tried to go with a scheme that I was familiar with, just using like Games Workshop paints. I think it turned out all right. I did airbrush these, but there was some issue with my airbrush, so it got really chalky and started spitting paint. So that was like user error. And I ended up just kind of dry brushing over them. So I guess this like exterior bone is not as well defined as I thought, or as what I had hoped. But overall, I think it looks nice on the table. Just some contrast paints for the eye, nothing too fancy, and then a matte varnish, and then a little bit of the textured. Well, it's not really textured, but it's the gloss varnish on top, as I talked about earlier. So I'm kind of going in easiest to hardest mode. So third and last model, let's take a look at Kerrigan. To me, this was the hardest model. There was, I think some of it was pressure just to have the centerpiece model just look really nice. So my buddy's Zerg army has a little bit more pink in it, so it turned out quite nice. I think the blends of pinks and purples on the leg, it's a little bit hard to see for the skin tone. Here's some of my preliminary work. The skin tone turned like it's a little too much like human flesh, so I was trying to paint her like, you know, she was part of the hive and not just a human. And so I think I came out with a pink that was pretty good. I did some oil work on basically like her wings. I thought that turned out pretty good. It works with the bone scheme that I used for the Omega Worm and for the Queen, so that blends in well. I didn't do too much on the base, as in case my buddy wants to do his own scheme, then he can just, you know, add texture paint or whatever fits best for him, whether it's snow or lava or whatever he wants to do. He can just add it on there, so it's pretty neutral. Yeah, it definitely was challenging. I ended up basically doing the face in like a bone white, kind of based on this pictures, and I feel like that blended in a little bit better than as it was before. But overall, generally pretty happy, and I think he'll be happy with the final product. So this is the summary of the Zerg. I had a lot of fun. Some of the bigger models were a bit challenging, but the Queen was a blast. I think the purples, the browns, blending paint with airbrush, just the biological nature of the Zerg, where you can really blend the colors well together, is definitely a plus, and you can be creative, and it's okay if you make mistakes. It kind of all blends together and looks good. So overall, I had a great time painting the Zerg. Hopefully got something out of this, some ideas maybe for your Zerg, or some things you didn't want to do, some things that you think that you would like to do better, or just anything like that. So this is Joshua 6 of Tabletop. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.